Hello, welcome to the July wrap up where people are home. I'm pretty sure my mom's making bread downstairs. So if you hear things, that's what's happening. I did take down my whiteboard and bring it over here so you can see me finishing my whole entire TBR. I did DNF2 and soft DNF1, which I will bring up now. The Vanishing Queen. Vanished Queen, close. I read like 12% of it, but I had like no urge to pick it back up, and I was feeling the urge of a reading slump coming. So like I was like, I like it, it's fine. I just don't want to read it right now. So I just stopped reading it, and I will restart at some point in the future. But for now, stopped reading it, and that's not part of any of my stats, but that's fine. Otherwise, we are reading the stats on the iPad this time. I turned my brightness all the way down, so like I got squint, but then there's not a weird white glare on my face. So okay, the month of July, the time that is wild. A lot of weird things happened, so I'm gonna start with the normal overall stats, and then I'll go into all the books I read. Right. I did read 16 books, which is the most I have read in a month so far this year. That was a total of 4,639 pages. I'm just scrolling to the side real quick. Yeah, that's the most in a month before. Second place is June, so the most since June by almost 1,000. Yeah, I realized yesterday that while I did read a few short books, like a lot of the Katie Roberts I read for the podcast or Split in general is like just short of 300 pages, so it's counted as short books on Storygraph. But like I also read 4 books that are over 500 pages. So good times. Speaking of which, one of those 139 hours listened. There may have been a book that's like 49 hours or something like that. We'll talk to it when I get to it. Just know I had a good time. And the average rating for the month was 3.83, which is still much better than normal. There was a good chunk of time where it was like in the 4s, and I was very happy. It was like 4.0, but still I was very happy. And then a specific book, which, you know, I'll talk to it when I get to it, made it go down, but still the second highest after June. I think, yeah, January's the 3rd still, I guess. Good times. Only 3 were rereads, and 3 were by authors of color. All right. It is early in the morning, so it's fine. I read 2 classics. I had some people on Instagram when I was posting my book trackers be like, it's fine. One of them I basically read in 24 hours. Cool. 3 contemporaries, 3 eroticas, 4 fantasy, a historical, a mystery, a romance, and 3 sci-fi. I read 3 that were just audio, 6 that were ebooks, 3 that were physical, and then 6 mixed media. I think one of those was audio, physical, and then the rest of those were ebook audio, if I remember properly. So 9 were adult, 2 were middle grade. I will also talk about those when I get to it, because like I was trying to figure out if they count as middle grade or why, but like the author says they're middle grade, and there's a lot of discourse about that apparently on the internet. 1 new adult, which is the last book I read this month in July. Read all of it yesterday, which basically is like, it's not YA, but it doesn't feel like adult either, and the characters for the most part are like 18. So like new adult made sense to me. And then 6 YA. None of them were debuts. 11 were from authors I read before, and 7 were from authors I hadn't run from before. And then going to star ratings, 3 5 stars. Only one of those being a reread. 2 4.5s, 2 4 stars, 5 3.5s. There we go. Oh, I didn't even. Okay, listen. I rated book 4.25. It's not in the graphic because I forgot to change that. I changed the pie chart of all my ratings, right? But I didn't change that. So I gotta add a 4.25 in there. No, there's one of those as well. But there's 5 3.5s, a 3-star, a 2.5, a 2-star, and 2 DNFs. And then the soft DNF. Okay, weird break as I reposition things, because of course, the first book I read was a physical book. That one's underneath the giant book here. Malibu Rising, the favorite of the month. Read this for the weekend reading vlog. I literally was thinking, you know, I hope I get Malibu Rising because it's a good time to read it. July, getting towards the end of summer. It's a summer-esque book. Right? Also, it was on my 23 in 2023. Did not mention that in the weekend reading vlog. And I own a physical copy. And I was hearing good things about it. Hello? I generally don't like character-based books. But the way that Taylor Jenkins writes her characters, they feel so real, and there's just pure chaos. I really like the writing of how, like, the first part is a bunch of like back and forth and learning about their parents and their history and whatnot. And also each part is like a section of time up to the party, so like technically this all takes place in 24 hours. Wild. Yeah, I read most of this in the second day, really liked it. Did do the audiobook with it based off of Stingray's recommendation. Will have a podcast episode about it because of the strike, having to switch things around. So like obviously a book we've both already read that I found summary online and I really enjoyed. Would make sense, right? So stay tuned for that at some point in August. But yeah, I read it 5 stars. Watched the vlog. Okay, apparently I read 2 physical books in a row. Why did I do that? Next one is another 5-star. I went 2 5 stars in a row. I just realized this. In my 24-hour reading vlog, literally the next day, read this whole thing in that day. I don't have my dust jacket. It's fine. My mom is making them. So the Neptune is gonna be blue, and then this one and the King Chronicles one that I found, but I still don't have the cover of, are gonna be pink. We went through all the fabric she has. But yeah, I read all this in that I didn't mean to. I read like a chunk of it and then started reading another book during it, and then I went back to it, and then next thing I knew it was like 11 p.m. and I had read the whole thing, and I upped it to 5 stars because it was at 4 stars beforehand. Really love it. I forgot that I'm supposed to read the 3rd book this month, August. So that's gonna be exciting. Good times. Yeah. After that was one of the 2 that are not right on the whiteboard, which is The Hunter by Jenica Snow, also in the 24-hour vlog. I like to read short, smutty books. I've read The Beast earlier this year, and when I did that, there were only 2 books on Goodreads in the series, so I was like, I'll finish the series in this vlog. And then I go to add it, and I see that there's a 3rd one. Yeah. Don't worry, I'm gonna read it. Because I have issues. I don't even remember what I rated The Beast, but I know it was like pretty bad. This one, rated 2.5. Yeah, it was not the worst smut I've read. I'll tell you that. I've read worse for the podcast, but definitely not the best. And I think half the time I was reading it, I was like, wow, if Katie Robert wrote this. But it's like, Red Riding Hood and, the Big Wolf, you know, pairing. Except she wears, like, a red jacket, like, twice in 0.5 seconds. Yeah. It was not good. Moving on. And then I read The Beast, not from that series, but the Katie Robert, for the podcast, of course, 3.5 stars. I kept at that. Which is the story of Belle, Gaston, and Beast. But in the book, it's Isabelle, Gaston, and Beast. trying to live their lives. I don't know. I don't remember much about it. Listen, as soon as we recorded that episode and then I edited it and when it went up, my brain empty. It was fine. Not my favorite, but not my least favorite, because that's coming up. But it was a book I've read, and I don't mind it. I just feel like after the second one, the endings keep on feeling more and more rushed as I go along, which is just really sad. So, you know, especially after the first one, Desperate Measures ending is just, listen, hear me out. Her wearing the wedding dress and then slicing his neck. Iconic. So, you know, 3.5 stars. And then I read a book for one of the book clubs I'm in, A Psalm for the Wild Built. I believe that one was in the vlog where I read until I find a 5-star book. It was events on whether or not I'd actually get there for a bit there, but I rated it 3.5 stars. I thought it was fine. I was more intrigued by the world building stuff than the characters and what was actually happening. I was like, yeah, this is cool and all, but I want to know about like what's going on in this, like, I don't want to say dystopian, but like this world where like after we've reached the height of scientific discovery at this point and then we've decided to go backwards to save ourselves, like that intrigues me more than what was happening for most of it. So, you know, good times. So I rated 3.5 stars, and then I read the first classic I finished, because I would like to know the other classic I was reading this whole entire time. Not the whole thing, just Northanger Abbey. Which I will talk about in a second. There was a book from NetGalley that I had, that was a Northanger Abbey retelling. I said with a side eye, because, are you sure about that? It just feels like she used the same names and changed them a little bit and gender bent them. The end. But I decided to read the original first, which I did in like 24 hours. I just sat there and read it and had such a good time. It's good soup. I still think Thorpe should be run over by his own horse. There was a lot of me going on threads talking about this book. Yeah, it's a good time. I'm contemplating using threads and just talking about books on there occasionally. Especially when, you know, sometimes Stingray does not understand what I'm talking about. You know, I don't understand how people say it's boring, because it's not. It was a good soup. My main issue was like the gothic aspect of like thinking the guy she had a crush on, like, dad had killed his wife or something like that, or like she was locked in the attic, kind of Jane Eyre-esque, was for like 5 minutes. Like, hello? And I think that was like my main issue. Otherwise, like, it was a great book, 4.5 stars. Also, it took them more than half the book for them to get into Northanger Abbey. I'm pretty sure my mom's taking my dog out for a walk, so we may have to pause. But yeah, 4.5 stars. Good soup. Also knocked down another thing from by 23 in 2023, because on there is to read a Jane Austen. I particularly wanted to reread Pride and Prejudice, but generally Jane Austen I'd already planned to read Pride and Prejudice again this year anyways, and another thing, so like don't worry about it. But yeah, I also talked about that in the 5-star read vlog, so like that's a fun time. Basically all of these until I do rate 1 5 stars. Isn't that? Next up was the buddy read for June that I did not read until halfway through the month for the podcast, and that was The Weight of the Stars by Kay Ancrum. It was fine. I think I rated it 3.5 stars. Yeah. It was fine. I did not like the characters. Listen, it's a whole entire episode you can listen to where I go into depth why I think I don't like this one as much as Wicker King, especially when if you look at them separately, just like the idea of what they're supposed to be. The Weight of the Stars in theory should be the one I love, right? But no, and I think the main issue is that there's so many characters, and instead of the Wicker King, where it's like 2 characters that are really focused on, and then like sprinkles in of other characters, it's like all these characters are focused on, and then there's these 2 other main characters that were also like supposed to be at the forefront, and I'm just like, there's too many. for this to be like this. It needs to be either longer, or it needs to narrow down the focus or something like that. That being said, the ending, pretty good. And yeah, that's my thoughts on that. And then I read, oh yeah, Son of Neptune. I still have the blue. This is the blue. I put the blue on it so that we knew which one was gonna be the blue one. Son of Neptune. I rated this one 4 stars, and I kept it at 4 stars. This one, you know how The Last Hero took me a day, if that, to read, right? This one took me, because I like started that at 10 and I finished it around 11, but like there were multiple hours in the middle where I wasn't reading because I was doing other things. This one took me 11 days. I don't know why. I think it's because Leo. Hear me out. Leo, best character. I love him. And a lot of the mystery stuff in this I already knew from like reading the first few books in the series. I think I ended at book 4. And then I was like, at that point I was in college, and I was like, you know what, if I'm gonna read them, I'm gonna have to reread all of them to like finish the series. And then I didn't pick them up, and here we are. I think I did pick up The Last Hero, and I just never continued past The Last Hero. And I think I understand why, and it's because I don't love this much as much. Like, it's fine, it's good. I just don't love it as much. Especially with knowing all the mystery. Though the ending was very fast, and I went, oh, now I gotta read the Mark of Athena immediately. So good times. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. I do love Frank and Hazel though, like so much. But you know, maybe I just want like the metal dragon and Leo, and you know. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that. And I'll put this back on when we talk about the first book I DNF'd, which was the Northanger Abbey retelling, Ghosted. NetGalley book. If you follow my Instagram, you'll realize I posted no reviews for NetGalley books, despite having 2 NetGalley books on my TBR. There may be a reason for that. You know, I did not get far. How far did I get into it? 10 pages? I read the prologue and part of chapter 1, and I instantly realized, oh, this writing isn't for me. And then some other stuff, I already didn't like the characters, like the way that the main character is all like snotty, and like the whole ghosts are real, everyone who believes ghosts are real don't know what they're talking about, all this stuff. But like in the prologue, we see her being scared of ghosts. It's ghost hunting. So like all this stuff, the setting was not doing it for me. I did not like it. And then I looked at a few reviews, and basically with the issues I had, I understood I would not like it. And also, there was one review of someone who had read the author's previous book and was like, yeah, I was hoping for better, but I didn't get it. So I just don't think the author's books are for me. Moving on, finally, a 5-star read to end that vlog. The Broken Girls, which was also a book club book. It was great. I talked in depth about it, how it reminded me of a lot of my favorite mystery thrillers. It was really good. I think I like small town ghosty books. Okay, like I think that's the moral of the story, and I should read more. Okay, it gives me cold vibes. I did already tell Stingray to read it just for that fact alone. It was a good time. I don't know if I have anything else to say about it. It was just really good. Also, I think part of the time when I was reading it, it was like rainy outside. It was cold. I think some of it there was no power in the house. I remember having to download, like I had already sent it to my Kindle. And I went, well, thank God I sent it to my Kindle. And then I realized, shoot, I never downloaded it on my Kindle. Because we all remember the time when I didn't have power for like 56 hours and that whole mess. So then up here in one exact spot, I have like 1 to 2 bars of service on my phone, so I made a hotspot so I could connect my Kindle to it, so that I could download the book onto my Kindle, so that I could read the book. It was good. Yeah, 5 stars. Obviously, it was good. And I totally did add all the other authors' books in the general vein to my TBR, so good times. Oh yes, and then we have Loveless. My reread of Loveless, that I started in, wait, let me see, let me scroll to the side. Loveless started June 21st, ended it July 19th. Yeah, it took me 29 days. It's fine. I'm pretty sure I went with 3.5 stars this time. Yeah, I went down half a star, mostly because one of the main characters really bugged me this time around. I think she bugged me the first time around, and I let it pass because I liked the story and like the message of the book. And the second time around, I already knew the story, the message of what was gonna happen, so I was just sitting there annoyed. So yeah, I did take a lot of notes, because it's gonna be an episode in February. Because you know, if we're gonna read a bunch of books about romance, we should read a book about how the importance of friendship love. I do like really appreciate the book for that, and I don't mind the writing. It's just that one character really bothered me, and I could not get over it. I could not. That being said, I did realize there's like always a lot of references in Alice Oseman's books, and there is one song. It's Your Song from Moulin Rouge that's brought up multiple times. And in like one of the big scenes, dramatic moment scenes, that song has a feature in it. And I realized in the time since I first read it in June of last year, and now, I don't think it was because of this book. I just listened to that song randomly because it showed up on my like story, or not story, or Spotify. And now it's like one of my favorite songs that I listen to occasionally, and I've been listening to it a lot in the past week and a half, as well as Defying Gravity. I don't know what's going on with me. It's fine. I also found a new Exhale song, so like I'm going crazy. Okay, that was a quick coffee break. Also, I realized that my big light up there was on, which makes a weird noise. It did make me look better, but it makes a weird noise. So, and since we're right here, I'm gonna turn that off. So, good times. And then after that, oh yeah, the second book that's not on my TBR, but I did read, was the sequel to Some of the Wild Built, which is A Prayer for the Crown Shy. I'm pretty sure like some people prefer the first one, and I get it because like the first one has like this big message, and that's the whole point of it, and the second one is less of that. It's more of just seeing the world and more world building, but that's the part that I was into. So like clearly that's the one I really like. I rated it 4 stars, I believe. Yes. It was really good. I really liked it. Like I like the author's writing. I think I have a few of her other books on my TBR anyways. So like good times. But yeah, I liked seeing the contrast of what Mosscap and Dex are like when they were in the forest, in comparison to when they're out in civilization. I like seeing how the civilizations and different civilizations work. I like seeing their friendship grow throughout this and deciding like our friendship doesn't have to end once this journey ends type thing. Good times, good soup. I really liked it. Obviously, and then War and Peace. Yeah, I listened to the whole thing in the period of the whole entire month, mostly. I rated it 4.5 stars. How many hours is it? 59. Hell yeah. It took me 6 less days than Loveless did. It's fine. From July 1st to 23rd. Yeah. And on that last day, like the plan was to like listen to an hour a day, which worked for me really well. And whatnot. And I originally started at like 2 times speed, but I upped it to 2.5. I usually play Stardew Valley. I finally reached perfection, and all this stuff, right? But like the last day, I was like, I have 3 hours left. I just want to finish this book. I'm having a good time. I really liked it. I did not confuse the characters with each other at all, despite the fact that there's like I could not tell you the name of characters for most of them, but when the narrator said names of characters, I went, yes, this character who has this family and this, then they're related to this character, be it this way, and it would be, and how everything's interconnected, and I really liked it, and yeah, so now I want to read Anna Karenina. I'm pretty sure that's not how you pronounce it, but now I really want to read that. It's fine. Also part of my 23 and 2023, that's why I decided to read it, because it's like one of those books I really want to read, and then I did it, and a bunch of people were like, wow, you're crazy. And then I did it, and then they're like, oh my god, how? And here we are. It was a good time though. I really liked it. And then the other NetGalley book, The Boy You Always Wanted, I DNF'd that. I got much further on that one. I think I got like closer to a third of it. I read 131 pages of it. And hear me out. I really did not like Ollie, the love interest. I don't remember the female main character name. It's like Francesca or something like that, right? I don't remember. But he was really rude to her and bullied her and ignored her, and she has like a lot of issues with people bullying her, even in her own family. And he's like one of the first few people who were nice to her, and then because of that, like, she likes him, which like makes sense. But then like when he realizes that he's like really mean to her and standoffish to her and really rude, and doesn't like really accept her feelings about her grandfather dying. He like at one point literally tries to explain to her how she should feel about this, and she's like, no, this is how I feel, this is what I want to do about it. It's not my fault you don't view the importance of that. Like a bunch of other things. And then I was looking at some reviews about it and basically realized, yeah, I don't think I'd like it. The writing's not for me. Especially Ollie's character. It took like, I think I was around halfway through, and he was finally agreeing to the plan that was like the point of the whole entire book. And then in reading some reviews, I saw some spoilers about what happened, and I went, oh, well, I kind of want to read it to figure out how she feels about it, but like also like I don't, and I honestly don't care. I just feel like the main character deserves much better than what everyone has given her in this. The aspect of an old Asian family and whatnot, especially old Asian family member, the last male in the family, having sexist views on gender roles and whatnot. I did appreciate that, but otherwise it wasn't for me, so I DNF'd it, and that's fine. I probably would have rated it 3 stars if I finished it, but I was like, is it worth my time? And I decided to just DNF it. Yeah, you know, makes sense. Especially since I already saw the main spoilers of like what happens in it, so you know, good times. Then I read The Sea Witch, the last episode of the podcast for the month. I rated it 3 stars. I think I have another kitty rubber at 3 stars, which is the Dragon Smut one. Listen, this one is my... We're just gonna ignore the mail going up. I'm pretty sure it's the mail. This is my least favorite Kitty Robert and the least favorite in the series. Like, it's... Okay. It's like not that good. I talk about it a lot in the episode. That is pretty short. It's only like an hour and 7 minutes, so like... But basically, the smut was like meh. The plot that like Ariel, her name's not Ariel in it, it's Zuri, gets bought by Ursa, aka Ursula, and Alaric, aka Eric, when she sells her virginity to free him from his quote-unquote enslavement from Hades, but like actually it was all like secret ploy, blah 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 blah. I did not care. Also, like, other than that, other than the buying the virginity aspect, most of it was just like small little things from the other books in the series just thrown in, conglomerated into one book, and it was not that good. 3 stars. Yeah. Moving on with my life. It really upset me though, because before this is when it was at the 4.0 something for average rating for the month, and then I read that one, rated 3 stars, and I went, oh no. So yeah. Well, at least one of those cards was the mail. After that, I read the book that I had to read for the Buzzwordathon. I usually try to read them earlier in the month, but I didn't. Anyway, The Wind Blows. I have so many thoughts. I have so many thoughts. So many thoughts. I have nowhere else to talk about them, so here you go. In this already very long video. Who needs this? This is what happens when I read 16 books in a month. Ow. So the first book in the series, I rated 4 stars. Don't worry, I did look up, because it's been like years. Like, it's been since beginning of 2021 that I've read the first one in January 2021. And I want to say the second one in mid 2021. which, like, makes sense because by the time I finished the second one, the third one wasn't out yet, so I waited, and then 2 years happened, right? So I did look up what happens in them so I could remember. And the way that the plot twist at the end of this book is supposed to be like, big plot twist. They basically told you in the first one, what are you talking about? Anyways, the first one rated 4 stars. Second one, I think I rated 3 stars. It was fine. Hear me out. It feels like a side quest. I agree with that statement, fully still. And it feels like it should have been a novella where they introduce some new characters and this new aspect of Baz and Simon's relationship since the ending of book 1. Book 3 feels like it is the second book, and there should be a third one because the ending does not feel like the ending. Who's the chosen one? I feel like it's Agatha in my soul, but like, who knows, because there was like a bunch of other stuff happening at the same time where I assume Agatha was proven as the chosen one, and all this stuff was happening, and it was like pages of like Simon fighting this guy, and then like this much on the page of like Agatha birthing a goat, and then like helping a goat birth another goat, not herself birthing a goat, and then fighting, oh, Agatha's helping a goat fighting, and I'm like, hello? And I like the idea of Agatha actually being the chosen one, despite like the way that like everyone's viewed her as like useless pretty girl, whose whole entire personality and society views her as just like being the girl that followed the chosen one around. Also, the way that apparently people in the society don't believe she's been kidnapped more than once. They think it's just a lie, and whatnot, that she's made to get attention. There's like one character that really brings this up to her, and like it's supposed to be happy because at the end she kisses her and they're happy together, but I'm like, also she like bullied you low-key, saying you that, telling you that your history was not real. No good times. But yeah, no, the ending, it didn't feel like it was an ending of a series, right? It felt like, because like the ending was this big plot twist from like, oh my god, and it's like, no, I'm pretty sure we learned this in the first one, right? So like, it wasn't new information. It was just the characters realizing this, and it wasn't like this big deal. It was just like, yay, and then the characters live their lives, so it felt like it shouldn't have been the end of the series, right? You get what I'm putting down? Like, the second one should have been a mini novella in between, and this one should have been the second book, and then there should be another one, right? Even though I don't want it. There felt like there was supposed to be a lot of conversations about racism and whatnot, especially with like the normies or the normals versus the magicians and all this stuff. And I was cleaning the pool while I was thinking about it, and I went, you know what? A lot of it reminds me of Legend Board, right? Like, you got Simon, the chosen one, assumed chosen one, blah 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 blah, in love with Baz, the gay gay goth guy, dark entity, demon-esque person, right? Them working together through their love for each other to save the world and whatnot, and also just living life with like this view of racism, except both of them are white AF, and also Tracy Deonn does it way better. Also, so it's like giving me 3 stars for most of it. And then near the beginning, Simon and Baz have a conversation. I remember when Simon and Baz kiss in the first one, like there's a whole thing where he doesn't want to like label his identity yet. And people are like, yes, but like also like, can you just state that he's bi or pan or something, because like representation matters, right? Which I get both sides of it. And then in this one, he's hanging out with Baz, and Baz is like, well, what are you? Are you bi? And Simon replies with a disgust, and I went, okay. And then I moved on, and then near the end, one of the characters' mother is thinking about how her husband has technically joined a cult, and she's like, it's like a midlife crisis, like all our friends are now coming out as bi, and like comparing coming out as bi in your 40s to like joining a cult, like they're comparable and equal. And then I realized a bunch of times that I've read Rainbow Rowell's books, and there's like a hint of like biphobia, just a hint. And it just piled on top of each other, and I went, I'm good. And I rated it 2 stars. I finished it, rated it 2 stars, moved on with my life. It is so long. It is longer than the first Legendborn. I should just reread Legendborn. It would have been much happier. Again. But yeah, there was that one. Then I read the next episode of the podcast, that I should probably record at some point. I'm not wearing my watch, it's charging. That I probably will record today. Indestructible Objects. Listen, I'm mostly upset because when I picked it for the buddy read, I picked it from a website that was like, this is a list of the best thruples out there. There's thruple books that aren't smut. It's not thruple. The main character cheats all the time. I realized last night when Stinger was reading it and talking to me about it, I went, oh shit. I realized why I really don't like the main character. Listen, there's gonna be a whole entire podcast episode. I like wrote out a whole entire like giant ass paragraph of why I don't like this book. So like listen to that when it comes out. But basically, hear me out. The main character, throughout her 2-year relationship with her boyfriend, Vincent, there we go. She cheated on him a lot, and then around halfway through the book, she states that the reason why it's okay that she cheated is because she is poly, and all this stuff. And as a person who's been cheated on twice, but one time with a guy who cheated on me, and then when I like went to talk to him about it, he said, well, I'm poly. I then yeah, when I realized that connection last night, I went, oh yeah, I don't like it here. I already do not like cheating books for obvious reasons. And I don't like it. The characters felt like they were supposed to be unlikable, but the way that she wrote them unlikable, it's like on accident. Listen to the episode. I'm gonna go into more depth. But I didn't like it. I went with 3.5 stars. I may lower it to 3 after we talk about it for the episode. So, you know, I know Stingray hasn't rated it yet, so like I think they're waiting to hear my giant ass paragraph. It's like half a page. Yeah, I didn't like it. And then after that, all of yesterday read The Last Tale of the Flower Bride. This is the one I rated 4.25 stars because like I really liked the ending. It's like I remember literally messaging H, this is what I want to happen, and that's the only way I'm gonna be happy. And then it happened, and I went, yes. And I like assumed it was gonna happen. I saw some people saying like they were expecting that to happen around halfway through and all this stuff, and I was like, okay, so it's like not supposed to be a surprise, like it's a thing that most people accept as the plot twist. And I do like how it was ended in general. It just felt a little rushed. The writing throughout was great. I loved it. Yeah, that was just spectacular. I was talking because it was for a book club, and I was talking to some people in the book club, and one of the people who DNF'd it, and I were talking a little about this morning, and I was like, yeah, the ending felt a little rushed, and it was really good, and I liked it, and the ending, or the writing was like chef's kiss. And she was like, yeah, even though I DNF'd it, agree, the writing was great. It's good. Did not realize I have some of her other books on my TBR, so like I gotta read those. It's really good. Don't understand how it's not labeled as horror on Storygraph, because the house literally breathes and talks to them. There's like missing kid. There's so much stuff that happens. Jupiter can fight me. I will beat his ass. If you know, you know. It is also going to be an episode of the podcast, but that's like in October. It just happened to also be a book club book, so I could like knock something out for October out of the way because it's a lot of episodes. And yeah, I think, yeah, that's it. That was the 4.25. I really liked it. Also, this is the one that I labeled as new adult. And yeah, I think that's all I have left to say. On that, for the plan, and whatnot, this is going up the Wednesday, so instead, Friday's to read with me, and then, or Saturday, not Friday, Saturday. Friday's when the Indestructible Objects episode goes up. And then after that, Wednesday, back to like normal Wednesdays read with me's. Alright, good times. Many interesting vlogs are planned. And yeah. I'm gonna go film one of those. So I will talk to you later. I don't know which vlog is gonna be the one next week, because it could be, if I do things, like I think I can do things in my head, I think I will have 2 done by then. So but yeah, that's that. Check out Stingray, as well as the podcast. Above the cards, I will have the whole entire podcast yet, because like I don't have enough room to put all the vlogs and also all the episodes for the podcast up there. So just the podcast in general. There is now a playlist of all the Katie Roberts, so good times on the YouTube channel, as well as Stingray being linked below, as well as all my stuff. You can also find the podcast in those. It's everywhere. We never stop working on it. And yeah, that is it, I believe. So I will see you in the next video. This is absolutely long. Oh my god.